A new horizon is quickly approaching us from the West Coast, Washington State, right where Microsoft headquarters is. Several studios purchased under Microsoft will soon start developing games. And for those who said Microsoft couldn't, sorry, there will now be more exclusives on the Xbox. And since now you can stream some of these Xbox games from your PC to your PlayStation, this now definitively proves that PlayStation is an Xbox platform. With a vast array of exclusives like mesh shaders, the competition is now starting to look rough for Sony. But who will prevail over the other in this generation? And between both of them, whose future plan is looking brighter?
Don't ask me why I did that intro. I was high and drunk as fuck. Anyways, let's just get right down to it. PlayStation fanboys are in no position to be crying right now, nor are they in any position to be mocking anyone else other than themselves, after having spent the past console generation harping on about the importance of exclusivity and its role in selling consoles and mocking people for supporting a console with none of those things. Microsoft decided to pull off what is known as a
pro gamer move
and finally closed their deal with Bethesda, securing the $7.5 billion acquisition. Then followed it up in an interview with Pete Hines.
But,
And Colt Eastwood's role model, Phil Spencer, that basically answered everyone's stupid-ass question: will these games be exclusive to Xbox? Well, what Phil Spencer had to say was,
we have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there might be things that have either contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do.
Well, obviously, Phil, there's no way you're going to pull off this acquisition and then follow it up by pulling Bethesda games off PlayStation. People already bought those games, so obviously nobody is sweating.
But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. And that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we will be able to bring to market for our Xbox customers. It's going to be the best it's ever been.
Yeah, how many times have you guys heard that? Whatever. I'm not here to just shit on Xbox, although that would be very fun to do. But I've been doing it for years. It's what I do with corporations. I don't congratulate them, I don't cheerlead for them, I shit on them. Because they're multi-billion-dollar companies. Do you think their feelings are going to be hurt by some jackass who just smokes weed all day and rants on YouTube? But there you go. The big, stupid, dumbass question that was on everyone's minds has finally been answered. Wherever Game Pass exists, it will receive these games as exclusives. In other words, the PC and the Xbox. But at the same time, that also leaves a door open for the possibility of Game Pass expanding in the future. But let's be real here. Do you actually think Sony is going to say, yes, let's just put another marketplace on my marketplace? Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen. Sony's gonna go ahead and try and make their own Game Pass. And before you know it, bit by bit, year by year, franchises that everybody once had access to on multiple platforms is going to decrease. And somehow we're supposed to celebrate that. Because, hey, Xbox having exclusives now means that I have to buy an Xbox. Isn't that good news? I don't know. The community's weird. But there you go. Fanboys that were crying for years for being bullied by PlayStation fanboys finally get a little shimmer of hope in PlayStation owners no longer being able to play entire franchises they used to. I mean, it's a shallow dub, but you'll catch a dub when you can, right? I suppose Microsoft just casually throwing around billions of dollars to prevent games from being on PlayStation instead of building their own studios and games is apparently what everybody wants, seeing as how the Xbox fanboy narrative has changed, and each time it changes, it's due to the holy words spoken by the almighty Phil Spencer. It's in many ways similar to a cult. Phil Spencer can one day say,
He says, gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives, and he finds it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games. Or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about. He says gaming is bigger than any one device, and that is something as an industry that we've embraced as we bring more and more players in. I think it's vital to the role that gaming can play on the planet.
And then the mindless drones that follow, like Colt Eastwood, will receive the holy word and then preach to his own audience.
Quit puffing your feathers about exclusives. Multiplats is where the best games are. Quit condoning exclusivity.
You see, because when Phil Spencer says he doesn't like exclusives, then Colt Eastwood will no longer like exclusives. Whatever Phil Spencer says in general becomes the new narrative, as you can easily see is then demonstrated here, where after purchasing Bethesda and announcing exclusivity for future games, Colt went on to shamelessly pump out videos worshipping Microsoft for the deal, and even goes on to, oh god, make his own fan trailers for Xbox Game Studios. And no, he wasn't paid by Microsoft to make this commercial. He essentially did it out of his own free will. But there you go. Colt, like many other Xbox propagandists, do not have a mind of their own. They are unable to form their own opinion. They rely on Phil Spencer's words to guide them rather than their own thoughts. The thing I just can't seem to wrap my head around is why am I able to easily see these hypocrisies and inconsistencies, but his own audience isn't? Let's also take a look at Kid Smooth, a legendary Xbox fanboy, who spent the entire day celebrating this as if it was his firstborn child. Here he is popping the champagne and being a shameless fanboy who now all of a sudden loves Bethesda and is a strong supporter of them. Yet here he was before that acquisition talking about how he mostly avoids Bethesda games. Well, congrats, Smooth. I guess a company you avoid is now all of a sudden one of the greatest developers of all time, now that they are an Xbox exclusive. Fuck, he straight up even said Bethesda games are trash, and doesn't know why people buy them. I mean, here he is himself saying that. You can't make this shit up. The petty nature of console wars is just that astonishing to me. I never get bored of the endless amusement.
Well, Frit, people can change their minds, given enough time.
True. But remember, these are Xbots. They work like a hive mind more than that of an individual. They don't buy the Xbox to simply enjoy it in the privacy of their own home. No, far from it. They buy it because their console brand is their very identity. It's how they also market themselves. They don't have personalities of their own and find comfort in the fanboy communities that suffer from the same illness. The pledge they make to these brands far exceeds that of gaming as a hobby for them, dedicated to Microsoft but not themselves. I mean, hell, why do you think they didn't start taking showers until Microsoft started selling them shampoo? Aight, so fuck the small minority of fanboys and their utter hypocrisy. What about the opinion of mainstream journalists? Obviously, they have a much better take on this situation, right? Well, it's mainstream for a reason after all. It requires no thought. This is great. We need healthy competition in the industry. Hope this spurs Sony to step up their game. When companies compete, we win. We win. Oh yeah, sure. The other company I now have to give more of my money to is me winning. So healthy competition is buying out entire franchises just so PlayStation owners are forced to buy an Xbox or PC just to play games they were always able to on their preferred console. Yeah, that is just so much better than creating your own studios and putting in work to create games. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Sony isn't guilty of this with their timed exclusivity bullshit, but anyone that has watched me for some time already knows my stance on exclusivity. I despise the idea of games being kept behind a $500 paywall. People often say, well, it creates competition that consumers benefit from. No, it benefits certain consumers and fucks over the others. It just baffles me that creating artificial barriers for video games is somehow a good thing to journalists. Then when Half-Life Alyx asks you for a VR headset and PC to be played, they get up in arms about how fucked up it is to have to get a gaming PC and VR headset and how expensive and anti-consumer that is and limits people. Yet they see no problem with having to buy an entire console or PC just to play future Bethesda games. they are able to just barely catch on to the shitty aspect of exclusives before they go back into mainstream mode and fill the room with pop vinyl figures and boxes of games they don't play. But whatever, Frit, we get it. Journalists suck, and so do fanboys. But what about you? Your thoughts? Well, to be honest, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying the salty fanboy tears. Being someone who's always viewed exclusivity as anti-consumer, I feel quite disconnected from the rest of the community. My point of view is so different, and as a PC gamer, I do not feel the negative consequences of any of this. Because us PC gamers, as you know, we're a lot smarter by default. We already know where all the games are gonna be at. I get PlayStation games, and then I get all these Xbox exclusives. Well, I'm saying that like it's such a good thing, even though Bethesda games have always been available on PC, so nothing there really changes. Do I really have to stand up for the PlayStation guys and defend them? No, I don't. Nor do I even have to celebrate Xbox doing this, because I don't like the idea either. It's an approach I don't really want other corporations to take. This is the hill they wanted to die on, a war of exclusivity, where corporations can just fuck over entire consumer bases, and you're forced to buy more boxes as if that's supposed to be a good thing.
Get what you fucking deserve!
Oh look, these two boxes are basically identical in the hardware that they contain. They can do the same fucking thing. But guess what? I still have to have two of basically what's the same console, just so I can play Bethesda games on one and play Naughty Dog games on the other. Isn't that great? No, that's not great. That's $1,000 right there. $1,000 you could have spent on a PC, so you didn't have to do this. There is a silver lining to all of this. You see, with Bethesda now being owned by Microsoft, and Microsoft also having a lot of studios with experience, a sort of partnership can happen here, where maybe, perhaps in the future, Bethesda learns how to make games without bugs, remembers how RPGs are supposed to be designed, and maybe something like a new Vegas 2 will happen. Companies like 343 working with, I don't know, what, id Software? Yeah, that would be a match made in heaven. Bethesda games have a chance to improve. But then again, with Microsoft's track record on quality control, you know, Crackdown 3, Quantum Break, and how things have gone with a lot of their recent exclusives, this is more wishful thinking than a foreseeable future, really. On top of that, this solidifies the fact that Microsoft has the strongest lineup of studios. It's not even close. People who thought Microsoft would drop $7.5 billion and not make the move to make these games exclusive are goddamn brain dead. This is Microsoft. Who do you think it is? They weren't looking to make a $7.5 billion purchase without the intention of growing their own market. No, they wanted to absorb Bethesda so that those Game Pass subscriptions shoot up, those consoles fly off the shelves, and that sweet PC revenue continues to come in. The possibilities for a lot of good things are there. For the corporation, of course. And maybe the consumer, if the quality goes up. But again, this is Microsoft and Bethesda, two companies who aren't exactly all that well known for quality. But indeed, it is a license to practically print money. You understand why the move was made. You saw it coming. Can't really bitch and whine about it. Especially since I'm a PC gamer, this doesn't even affect me at all. And on top of that, this is what the console fanboys have always wanted. Well, there you go. You made your bed, now lie in it.